Without further ado, I will start with a short clip. Enjoy! So, did you hear the birds chirping? So, this sight and sounds are basically what I wake up to every day the past decade. Now, in case you're clueless where this location is, here is a short geography class. So, this is a map of Sabah. As you can see, there are 5 divisions. Number 1 is in the interior division, colored red, and number 1 is pinned in purple. So the majority of population here are of the indigenous Murid people. If you Google further, it will give you an approximate distance from Kota Kinabalu International Airport to my school, which takes about 4 hours drive and a distance of about 250 kilometers. Now, this is where I live and where I took that video from. And this is where I work. It is just a minute walk from home. What you see here is the administrative block that also housed our preschool. Now next, you can see here is our classroom block. And here we have 6 classes only. That totals to an amount of 198 pupils, including our preschoolers. The pupils who attend this school actually come from the 6 nearby villages that is within less than 5-kilometer radius from the school. Now here we have a glimpse of a common scene in a classroom. So because I am a science teacher, more often than not, we will have activities and experiment in a lesson. And science is a very hands-on lesson, so classes and my lessons can be very messy or even noisy. And this particular picture here, as you can see, discussions and presentation happening. But if you see here in particular, the picture at the bottom, this is not a science class, but also an interactive lesson for the subject of Reka Bentuk dan Technology, where the kids have to prepare and apply the manner of food preparation in their lesson. And then here in the middle bottom, you can see a group of preschoolers actually. They are actually waiting for their turn to be called in a sports training. But what they are doing, they are actually playing with the Ixora flowers, trying to make themselves accessories. Interesting, right? So now, 2020 is supposed to be no different, if not better. One of the things that I have planned was this little corner for science. And just before the midterm holiday in March, I have done this much of work to create this one-stop info center for science at my school's open hall. This is new for us, the subject corner, and we were very excited to build our respective corners for different subjects. So what I show you here is actually only phase 1, and I have plans to do more with this corner for the kids to use. Unfortunately, yeah, as we know, Miss Corona came to say hello. And then there was panic, there was worry, and of course, there was anxiety. So, how has COVID affected me as a teacher? Well, of course, we can only plan, but one of my biggest worry actually was because I was teaching, and I am still teaching, an exam class, which was the year 6. So if we are confined this long at that point, how do we catch up later? What will we have, to do before September? Because the exam was supposed to be in September. Will we have enough time before the exam in September to catch up? It was not until the ministry announced that the situation isn't getting better and the UPSR exam for this year is cancelled. Relief is one, but the learning still has to go. So how do we do that? That was the question. So as you can see here, all our plans went to trash. But since we are all safe at home, and these are the dilemma that we have. Okay, so we were given and we were ordered to do home-based learning or long-distance learning, they call it. So, of course, later during the MCO, the Education Ministry has sent out their guidelines and orders for long-distance learning, and now they call it home-based learning. But here's the situation. Everyone is at home, both me and my pupils. That's good. Me, I have my gadgets. I have my internet connection. Remember I said I'm grateful for internet? This is why. I have 24/7 and very stable internet. The only thing I don't have was my books and my references. But then again, it all goes back to internet. Everything is online now. Now, meanwhile, for my kids back in the woods, it's a different story. Most households there are sharing one gadget and one gadget alone, which means the gadget belongs to their parents. So in case I haven't told you already, majority of my pupils are actually in the B40 category. 2, even though they're in school, we have a 4G connection or coverage. It is not very stable, and also because it is due to unstable electricity. Yes, we have 24 hours electricity, but it is very unstable. So when power is out, most of the time internet is also out. So that's how it is over there. But the kids have their books, have their textbook, workbook, and activity book at home. So our question then was, how can we tackle and make this learning effective? Because we cannot afford to have the kids lose out in their learning for a long time. So thankfully, we have WhatsApp and we have our PTA. If in case you don't know, it's Parents Teachers Association, or in Malay PIBG, Persatuan Ibu Bapa dan Guru. Okay, so what did we do with this WhatsApp? So our PTA committee members have a WhatsApp group. So what we did was we reached out, and eventually and thankfully we managed to get hold of many parents and create a WhatsApp group for each class. So for me, I teach 5 classes, so I was in 5 and I am in 5 groups. So here is an example of what we did in the beginning. And this is the most that we can go to connect with our pupils again. And we decided to just not to stretch the amount of subjects to give out per day, simply because we know that the kids are sharing their phone, and some kids have 3 to 4 siblings who are studying, who are schooling. So if we give too much, then it will be too much for them, for the gadgets. So thankfully, we do get responses, and even though it was not up to 100%, there was still positive responses from the parents and the kids as well. They do our work. They are very active in sending us pictures on how the kids are doing at home. So at the end of the day, we know our goal, that is for the kids to at least do some reading, some writing while at home, and are monitored by their parents. Now, here is another strategy that we applied besides using WhatsApp. So we have our very own pigeonhole, and thankfully we have a colleague who is staying there and are within the school area. So we could make use of this pigeonhole, and because of that colleague as well, we were able to print our task, and we could have the parents come and collect these worksheets from the school at a given time in the week. So we are very thankful for that, and this was also possible because everyone was living nearby the school, and these are all within reach. But then again, we thought it wasn't enough, because at the end of the day, children are children. They need to play. They need to do something. Okay, and it cannot be just reading and just writing at home. So we need to make it interesting. Kids are always curious. And kids also, we know children learn by doing. So that's where project-based learning comes. So we incorporate project-based learning as also encouraged by the ministry. We know for sure that the kids may not have the privilege to resources, but we know that they can still learn and do something with whatever they have. So here, as you can see in the slide, is a picture of a project for year 6 that was actually carried out just a month before the school in Sabah closes again because things got worse here. So my initial plan was actually to extend this food preservation project to cross-curriculum, to cross-subject, and to test their entrepreneurship skills. I wanted to hold like a competition, an exhibition from this, like a little MasterChef Junior sort of thing. But in the end, this was the furthest that we could achieve. It's a shame though, because if you can see here, this pineapple jam is, in layman's term, legit good. So next, how do we make sure, or this is an example where the kids were able to learn independently on their own. And these are just short video clips of a short activity for my year 1 kids who were actually testing and identifying objects that absorbs water. So all I did was just send in a guide picture and short GIFs on how to run this investigation. So actually for year 1 and having to only have face-to-face interaction for only like 3 months before, I am very proud and touched that they were able to do this with minimal guide from me. And you can see here that they are able to record their findings, and this to me is an achievement for them because they reassure me that they can learn as well even though they're at home. And this picture over here, this slide, is my year 2 kids, and here they are doing rocket. Okay, so yeah, they are playing as well, and they are actually learning about the effect of wind. So it is very hands-on. So indirectly, they are also learning by playing. And this one picture here of shadow play, this was actually done in class, but we plan to do like a short skit from the product that I asked the kids to do themselves. They cut this out and we were supposed to make a short skit, but in the end we managed to do only one lesson about this, but we still did it anyway, so thankfully we did. And here next, and this one I want to credit my colleague for this science class, and because he managed to get the kids to actually learn about their nature. So the topic was about plants, and nature is really very close to the kids because they are surrounded by the greens, and most of their parents are farmers. And this particular video of the cornfield, if you see here, is actually taken by my student. And in this particular video here, he is presenting about the plant that that is around him. So the kids were able to identify the plants that is around them, and that they learn to appreciate and learn more about the nature around them. So this is something I'm very grateful for. So regardless, if they don't have resources, it's fine, but they can still appreciate and look around them and learn the things around them. Okay, so here is another example I wish to share. So this may not be a science class, but I'm trying to share that even though they do not have resources, but they still can make do with what they have. And they can turn it into beautiful arts like this. And these are all done by themselves. We don't have face-to-face interaction. There was no video. They only relied on their textbook. And yes, with their parents' help. And they were able to create arts like this. And these are year 3 classes. So it shows us teachers that they are very handy and also they are very creative. And this type of activity is actually very advantageous to the pupils who may not be academically excellent, and this is where they can excel. So it's a plus point for us teachers because it allows us to assess them in many ways, even though we do not have face-to-face interaction. And here are more examples, as you can see how creative the kids are with what they have to create and learn at the same time and to produce many different products. So people say you grow through what you go through. And even if things do not work out, then we improvise. We do something else. It is okay to fall behind sometimes because that's how we learn to get up and not to fall again the next time. At the end of the day, because every day is a learning day. So that's how I live my day today and to this point. So thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all have a good day, stay safe, and wear your mask.